Charles, every now and then we have a title that I can't believe we haven't done yet. This is definitely that. We've got quite a thing planned for everybody today. The Clintons have a license to shill. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing well, Jason. Thanks for asking. Back here in the residential location, um,
Yeah.
tinkering away with new art and new this and new that.
Knew this and knew that. That's good. Yes, I forgot to mention back in the lovely United States of Penang, Charles. I don't know if you noticed. This is perhaps crass. Call me third grade humor, but did you notice our 007 logo for Bill Clinton?
Very nice.
License to shtup.
He doesn't stop, apparently.
Well, not anymore. He's lost his license. He had to give it up in a legal case. But Bill, Charles, why are we talking about Bill Clinton today with all of the different stuff that's going on?
Well, I received word from a credible source that things are moving forward positively against the Clintons and these crooked foundations. And now I'm at a loss because I don't read the New York Times or traditional media anymore because it's obviously just fake. And I get fed all these different stories, and from a number of different vectors, people are claiming that that Tulsi Gabbard and others in, I think, the Senate have finally gotten documents that I think likely name me, because they refer to the fact that the FBI, when it conducted its original investigation in 15 and 16, and maybe afterwards, of the Clinton Foundation, that senior FBI and Department of Justice types and IRS types were not shown damning evidence against the Clinton Foundation. That's one vector. And for those who are new to the party, the Clinton Foundation didn't exist, actually, at the time of the original Memorandum of Understanding. A fact that somebody like Cheryl Mills, who, according to various accounts, was representing, as a lawyer, representing the Obama transition team. If she's such a smart lawyer, she had served on the board of the Clinton Foundation for years before representing, implausibly, as far as I can tell, a hostile party, that is to say, the incoming Obama transition team, in trying to think through whether a memorandum of understanding made any sense at all to, quote, protect the incoming Obama administration from any allegations of impropriety that may have arisen before or after concerning Hillary's simultaneous holding the highest foreign policy position in the cabinet, while her husband, or life partner, we should probably call it, life partner in crime, continued to pretend that he was running organizations that didn't legally exist. So there are various reports that now credible investigators and possibly even the grand jury and the various parties involved in the conspiracy case in Florida may have now had been given access to this material. And importantly, what this is going to show is, what did elements of the FBI know about the crimes? And the crimes were widespread at the time of the investigation in 15 and 16. Indeed, at the time that Hillary announced her second run, by the time she announced her second run in April, I believe it was, of 2015 for president, she was still one of the Class A directors, in theory, of the Bill, Hillary, and Clinton Foundation, which didn't technically exist. So a lot of I didn't know that at the time. I was pushing hard in 15 and 16 on it, but certainly people in the FBI should have known. And now people investigating this mess have a chance to figure out what was it, who was pulling these levers that simultaneously said, you know what, we have credible evidence of a widespread and longstanding criminal conspiracy to use fake charities to feather the Clinton family's nest, to feather the Democratic Party's campaign coffers. We have immense evidence of that that's real, that's still in the public domain. Let's bury all that shit while we simultaneously dirty up Trump and Trumpland with a fake dossier full of total crap. Let's push that as truth and suppress the truth. And now investigators may have all that. And if they do have all that, there are various and sundry uninformed people who, on my Penang Twitter feed, were trying to point out that the statute of limitations has passed and all this, and there's nothing you can do. Bullshit. There's an ongoing criminal conspiracy to pretend that the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation has lawful authority to engage in the global crime spree that they've been engaging in around the world ever since they attempted to change the name. There's an ongoing criminal conspiracy to suppress this the knowledge that they're doing this, to restrict their ongoing fundraising, which is happening on this broadcast. You know, they have a website that is continuously asking for money in violation of law. So there's no statute of limitations issue here, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. You know, maybe lawfare operators can claim that there is such an issue. But on this one, you know, I think the fires have been very, very hot. There's two other strands that are interesting. One is that Paul Sperry has a piece alleging that what happened in 2012, I think it was July of 2012, a Stinger missile was sent in Afghanistan and shot down on one of our military helicopters there. Fortunately, it didn't blow it to smithereens. In recovering, going through what they found, they were able to get the serial number, according to Paul Sperry, of this missile, and they figured out that it was a missile that Hillary Clinton's State Department had transferred into the terrorists in Libya, and in violation of Congress. There was no authority to do this. The State Department had done this, and when this happened, according to Sperry, remember this is July 2012, Hillary Clinton and others went into furious overdrive to get these various Stinger missiles that they had transferred illegally returned. And the point person on that was Ambassador Stevens. Stevens was trying to get those missiles back. And apparently Petraeus, this just came out. This has just come out. And I can't verify it yet. I sent you emails saying, is this true? It rings true to me. It fits very well with what I know. 2 Facebook links.
Wow.
But let me continue. So why it rings true, you'll remember that Petraeus, they concocted this plot to get rid of him, that he'd been working on a memoir with a lover, and just, he opposed, apparently, the transfer of these Stinger missiles, and they did it in violation of his order or will as CIA director. This is, may have been one of the things that Hillary, illegally had been doing, likely, possibly in coordination with various Clinton Foundation people who had been set up in the Clinton Health Access Organization offices, I believe, throughout North Africa. So, there's that vector. Then there's a really amusing vector. I have some personal knowledge about Jim Comey through a friend, and we've talked about it before, who owned a townhouse next to a townhouse that was rented out to the judge in the Blind Sheik trial. And my friend liked to drink, and the Secret Service or the agents protecting this judge, whose wife insisted in living in a high level in a fancy townhouse. This is the judge who later became the Attorney General, Republican judge. The agents blocked access to my friend's owned townhouse when he was coming back for the weekend with 3 little kids, and they were cranky, and they wouldn't let him to go into his own house, and he had to fight that through, and he convinced them to let him into his own house, and then he might have had too much to drink. So later in the evening, he decided it would be a good idea to water the steps of his townhouse, and may have accidentally on purpose watered the agents. So they broke down his front door the next morning and tried to prosecute him, and it was Jim Comey who was doing that. And my friend gave me the complaint, and I looked at it, and I'm not a lawyer, but I said, this is ridiculous. And my friend was able to get Comey to drop it.
Wow.
So Comey is basically a vindictive puke, And now and he was, I think, promised a position, or he was promised the option of staying on as FBI director should Hillary have won. So he had an incentive to protect Hillary, and therefore a conflict, and he should not have been doing what he did do in 2016 at any stage in this, quote, investigation of the email server, in particular when he was using his own personal, unauthorized email account in this process. But the damning thing that has come out in a Joe Hoft article is that in trying to fight the current indictment, Comey's lawyers may have introduced evidence where they doctored a transcript to make it look as if, Comey was the Cruz did not do an effective job of questioning him, but they may have doctored a transcript in a filing. And this to me is more and more proof that these people who, particularly under Obama and under Clinton, but also under Bush, who get into these high-level political appointments, especially when they're lawyers, are bad at their job. I mean, Hillary is an atrocious lawyer, right? I mean, if you think about what she's done, she's got horrible political instincts as well. And yet, the world's the authorized bar groups and the inside legal people put her on lists of being one of the smartest lawyers on earth. Barack Obama was sold to us as a constitutional law professor. He's a moron. He may be an expert on Kenyan law or some foreign law, but he's certainly not an expert on America's law. I could say that just as somebody who's read a lot of legal materials and taken a few courses at various law schools.
But Charles, doesn't this go back to what we're always saying, that they elevate morons and say they're great, they suppress people who are doing the real work and bringing forward the real truth, and they decide. It's exactly like my buddy Adam Sharp. He decides who gets an Emmy and who gets a lawsuit, and it's more than a thumb on the scale. He's putting his whole ass on the scale.
And this is a process. This is a corrupt process that has been going on for a long time. I mean, the best analogy I can draw is to basketball. And in the case of basketball, when Larry Bird, a white, phenomenally gifted basketball player, Magic Johnson, a famous black player, and one of his chief rivals, is one of his fastest friends, which is really surprising. I mean, these guys were they fought it out for championships, and sometimes the Celtics would win.
Is it Magic
sometimes...
Johnson or Dr. J? Larry Bird made a lot of video games with Dr. J.
No, Magic Johnson was one. Maybe also Dr. J, but Magic Johnson was a rival, more of a direct rival. And they do these shows. I've watched them. Where they go around the country and they talk about the rivalry. But once Bird retired, there were people in the black basketball community who said it was impossible to make Larry Bird one of the greatest of all times because he wasn't black.
Whoa.
And people like Magic Johnson rose to his defense and literally said, Larry Bird was my brother. Don't you dare say that kind of bullshit. So in basketball, there's which is a fiercely competitive sport where they're not rigging the games. We recently, I think it has happened. But in general, though, the basketball or professional sports, or you could take tennis, people at the top of their game in the finals, they don't want to walk over in tennis. They don't want the other person to say, I'm sick, you win by default. They want to slug it out. You want to see number one and number two go out there and do stuff that neither of them had ever done before. That's real competition. To have a political world where you can seriously pretend in 2025 that Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg, are legitimate contenders to run for president in 2028, that these are the leading contenders. Throw into the mix the fake Indian Elizabeth Warren. I mean, and other people in their 80s who want to run for president again. I mean, it's just complete bullshit. And I think the American electorate understands that. We don't want on the right to see Jeb Bush, low energy Bush, trotted out there, or Mike Pence, who has the nerve to suggest that he might run for president in 2028. He'd be lucky to keep his opportunity to go unchaperoned to a Boy Scout meeting. I mean, he
Charles, did you see last night or maybe yesterday from the Oval Office, Trump said Pete Boot Edge Edge. It's like two edges. You said that. I thought of you.
I did see that. He is very funny. But seriously, I mean, Pete Buttigieg, it's like saying, that the reason I have been, was unable to do the last broadcast, and the reason I'm training so hard is that I'm going to challenge the current heavyweight championship of the world in a boxing match in Africa on cable TV pay-per-view. I mean, this is ridiculous that I would try to do that, or that Buttigieg would think that he could be president of the United States. He can't even be president of his own house. I mean, the guy's a moron. He looks like a dumb version of Mr. Bean, and at least Rowan Atkinson can act.
No Thriller in Manila 2?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm nearly 3 hours away. Bring it.
Yeah. Pugilism, Charles.
It's the future. It's my future.
So, I mean, this is pretty big deal. I mean, I think a lot of people who've been watching our show for 9 years, it's sort of like, I don't know. It's one of those things like where it just feels like it's never going to happen. But I hope.
It's going to happen. It's just like, I mean, I had the same, it wasn't 9 years on GE, but in the beginning on GE, it was the same thing. Charles, are you kidding me? GE has issued more AAA paper than any company worldwide. It's covered by every major investment bank on how could they miss that the largest piece of GE is a fraud and therefore the whole thing is a fraud? How could all the regulators worldwide have missed that? How could, they didn't miss it in the end. It just took less time. Here, in GE's case, investors wanted to make money. With the political system, donors want to make money. They want to steal money. They want to give the politicians less money than the politicians give them back. That's the game. And Republicans are involved in it. Democrats are involved in it. Independents are involved in it. And, GE's case, we were only talking about $1 trillion. Here we're talking about, perhaps hundreds of trillions. And a lot of people at the tail end of their lives not wanting to spend those, the tail end of their lives worrying about protecting their tail in prison. So there's leverage. People believe, Comey believes he has leverage. Brennan believes he has leverage. Probably the Schlapper believes he has leverage. And all these people have weak spots, whether they themselves are deviants or members of their families are deviants or corrupt. They all have pressure points. And so, it has taken quite a pathway to get to where we are. And we will see. We soon will see. I mean, I'm very much encouraged with the opening revelation. And, it's a matter of public record. You can go and look in the tax court, look up Doyle and Moynihan, and you will see that there is progress there. There's a judge's order and apparently a second case that they brought that's bigger than the first one. I don't know. I haven't seen their pleadings, but my belief is that they want to really clean up the tax-exempt world, which really needs to be cleaned up. I mean, the nerve of these idiots out of college. When I was still in New York City, I would overhear their conversations. I'm not going to go work for a company. I'm not in the for-profit world. I'm in the not-for-profit world. I'm working on, feeding, creating new lice embryos in Uganda or whatever they're doing, or reusable menstrual pads in Tanzania with the Clinton Foundation. But, and that whole world, it has not been policed, by design has not been policed. It's how both political parties siphon money in violation of campaign finance rules.
Charles,
I mean,
This is the website that is always asking if Superman can beat up the Incredible Hulk. Someone has a question here. What's the real reason John Moynihan and Larry Doyle did not release documents from their investigation of the Clinton Foundation to the House Oversight Committee?
Well, because they didn't trust Democrats on that committee. And you see that now. It's a great question and a perfect lead into this news about Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff is a wholly discredited partisan fuckwad who has written multiple books.
It's technical terminology.
No, he is.
Over people's heads.
No, he's a fuckwad. I mean, he's written umpty books. He gets paid off to write these books that supposedly, they're critical of the Clintons, or the Clinton now critical of Trump. Uh, Insider Washington Tales. And so he somehow was involved in discussions with Epstein, which the Democrats on some committee have now released into the press, and predictably, morons like Caitlin Collins, I dealt with her, is an idiot. Um, she's not a journalist. She's just a paid hack. Who knows how she got her job, how she keeps her job, but they're running with this story that snippets of conversations between Epstein and Michael Wolff have now been released into the public domain, where they talk. Victim one is supposedly Giuffre, or however you pronounce that name.
Yeah.
And they're trying to say that this shows that Trump was involved in, knew about and was involved with Epstein Adventures. And what the actual transcript, which is available and which other responsible journalists have put out there, shows that Giuffre said nothing of the sort. So this is wholly irresponsible.
But even the email there, doesn't it just say, "Oh, Trump was in the house with her for hours"? Like, what is that necessary? I mean, you can be in the house with a person.
She under oath, was asked about that, and she says
Trump never did anything to her.
Exactly, and so to put this kind of bullshit out there, as if you needed another reason to tear up your cable tie and to cut your subscription fees with legacy media. This is yet another example. I mean, I don't need this evidence. There's more. I knew. You tell me why Michael Wolff said something. I'm less interested in that than Nancy Pelosi said something, and I certainly don't want to hear that.
This is the same dope who said that Epstein introduced Melania to Trump, and then Melania sued him and said no.
And this is the Comey, Brennan, Abby, Lowell, litigators at Clinton litigation approach. Everyone knows that the bottom half of the class is a large number of people in school. There are a lot of very stupid people out there who don't really care about evidence, may not even understand the issues, traffic an uninformed opinion. And these lawfare operatives understand that you can send bullshit into the public domain, and a significant percentage of the electorate will believe in the bullshit. Witness Barack Obama being president for 2 terms. I mean, he's a moron.
Now, wait a minute, Charles.
Right? But
this says Wolff is suing Melania over the Jeffrey Epstein threat. The legal action accuses the First Lady of trying to muzzle Wolff by threatening him. Wait a minute. He sued her for threatening to sue her? What is the cause of action there? I don't know.
No, I mean, Michael Wolff is one of these guys. He's, I think he's based in New York. And he's got, these people with Trump derangement syndrome love him, fund him, honor him, invite him to dinner parties. And there are a lot of desperate people now. It's one thing to talk about, if you're going to, if the government's going to go after you when you've done nothing wrong. It's yet another thing to know that you've been engaged in a criminal conspiracy, that you've tried for decades now to cover it up. Think about this. We have a book. I have so many books here. I don't want to try to get it out now, but there's a book by a former senior level person who was in charge of multiple presidential libraries, including the Bush Library, the Clinton Library, and others, detailing in that book, though he doesn't realize it, criminal behavior. How presidents, Bill Clinton approached him and said, "I'm working on my book. I need to have some stuff that's in your library. Can I take it out of the library and use it?" You have Sandy Burglar going into the National Archives and stealing documents in his pants. I mean, he wasn't doing that for fun. This was the former National Security Advisor of the United States. He knew what he was doing was wrong. What was he trying to cover up? So we don't really know, we do know, frankly, that we don't have all of the records of the presidency of Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, and Ronald Reagan. We definitely, the public has never seen. We know that W. Bush destroyed a whole bunch of records. And the presidential library of Barack Obama hasn't even opened yet. And by the way, when it does open, it's not going to store any physical records. So we don't really know, with any kind of evidence, what actually happened in all these controversies that plague the legacies of Republicans and Democrats alike. We don't know. We settled for that. We've funded. The taxpayers have subsidized these presidential libraries. These are vanity exercises.
Charles, let me interrupt you for a second because we've got to take our conversation over to the First Amendment Forum. And
Sure.
people are going to be able to join us there on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Also on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Thanks to everybody who's sponsoring on there, people who follow me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribe there will also be able to see it. We will be right back